All right, all right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Cigars live stream here on the Thursday Night Hang. How's it going? It's Thursday, April 3rd. What's going on? How you all doing? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight we've got a little bit of a cigar hang with you. And if it's your first time joining us, we do this every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we just kind of have our Thursday night hang with coffee and cigars. So that's what we're doing here tonight. So tonight we've got a couple of things. We got a little bit of coffee and a cigar for the evening. Tonight's cigar is going to be the Yellow Bird from Privada Cigar Company. And Privada Cigar Company's got this Yellow Bird. They did this color series, evidently, where they have a bunch of colors and they release cigars according to the colors. And they decided to call this one Yellow Bird to kind of play off on the friend of Mr. Snuffleupagus. Mom, good morning to you, man, or good afternoon to you. I'm so used to saying good morning. Anyway, good to see you. Good to see you. And this cigar was provided to us by Mom. Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it. And today, so we're going to do the coffee first. We'll do coffee first. So today we got our coffee. Today we've got a little bit of special coffee thing for us to try. I've got this little box. And it's yellow, like the bird. Now, what this is actually something called the Top Rock, but the Top Rock is a little bit different. This is a Festool thing, right? I know you're going to say something about that, but the Top Rock is Festool's stereo system. Like it's a wireless thing where you can send music from your phone to this unit, and it will play it. The interesting thing is if you have two. Well, this one doesn't have a handle on it. If you have two, you can listen to the same music in stereo. So kind of epic. But this one is mine. This one is Matt's. And the reason I have this yellow one is because I'm actually doing a modification on it for Matt. I've got this mod here on mine where put them together. So here we are. You can see on this is the way that it originally comes. He put the Top Rock on a different sustainer to make it bigger. And I'm going to show you exactly what's in there. And it's related to what we're doing today. But as you can see here on this, there is this big black piece on here. This is what's called a NATO rail. And NATO rails were designed, of course, by NATO for different purposes. But these are being used in motion picture production, television production, to hold grip equipment. And how I work this is that I've got my little magic arm. So this is a magic arm, right? So magic arms are these devices where you can they're articulating, and then you just use this one twist and it locks it in place. And so you can kind of set it up however you want in whatever configuration you need and you can use different accessories with it. So for example, on this magic arm, it has two different ball ends, right? This one is a NATO rail receiver. And then on this side is what we call an airy pin, right? And so these are what's called airy heads. And so basically they are 1/4-20 screws, but they have two little pins called locating pins. Hey, Tony, what's going on, man? Good to see you. So these two locating pins are made to go into these holes so that they will lock into the holes, right, when you're putting them together. And this way, it prevents it from rotating and unscrewing, right? That's one of the problems with these things. They will unscrew. And so this, of course, is a magnetic plate for your iPhone. And so what I do is I take this when I'm out somewhere, if I want to, and then I put the NATO rail, the NATO rails that has these little pins as well. These little pins go in and out. And so basically, you just kind of slide this on, or you can just, if you open the clamp wide enough, you can just kind of drop it on like this, right? Without having, you could slide it on or whatever. But let's say, works a lot better when it's not on another sustainer. But you lock it in like that, right? And now you've got it pretty well in. But now if you wanted to take it off, you can just push this. It won't slide off, right? But if you push that pin in, it will come out of the the track. So we tighten that down, and then if we want, we can just kind of set this up so that we can put the phone in any orientation you want, and then just kind of twist it here to lock it down, right? George Brightman, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. And George Sham, how are you? It's nice weather outside tonight, don't you think, George? So that's kind of what I'm doing. So why am I having that's why I have this, because I told Matt that I would make this modification for me. So basically I just had to wait for the parts to come in, and now I finally got the parts, so it's time to put it together. So like I said, you just kind of push the pin here and it slides off like that, and then you're done. And that just makes it a little bit more handy and kind of fun to use. And you can, and then of course this thing has a phone charger, so you can charge your phone through the USB port and just plug it in and just let it do its thing. But Matt modified his. I was telling him that I have this idea of doing a Festool Spro coffee kit, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to make one." So he made, this is the one that he made, and we're going to look into it. So it's based on a sustainer system, and this one's a yellow. I don't know why he chose yellow. It's a little bit strange. George says, "Yes, indeed, shorts and t-shirt." Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm wearing myself. And Mom's saying hello to everyone. So we've got this sustainer, and so it opens up, right? You roll this out, right? And like in the Festool, there'll be tools in here, and in this case, we have tools as well. This is Matt's travel kit. Right, so there it is. We've got a whole kit of coffee here. We've got the Fellow Tally Pro Studio Edition scale. We're going to use that. We have, what else we have in here? We have a little protector. We've got the Comandante. There's a Comandante grinder. There is I think this is a fellow kettle. And then he's got a little stove. How do I get that out of there? So they got this canister, got a stove, kind of similar to the one that I have, the MSR. This is also MSR. This is a newer one. Mine's pretty old. And then we've got a brewer in here. We got some brewing devices. This is you guys might know. I don't. This is a fellow brewer, fellow something, and the brewer's here. So we're going to use this to try to brew some of our coffee today. And yeah, there it is. All right. Now our coffee is going to be the House Nation, and I'm going to try it actually in a couple different ways today. I wanted to try it as a hot coffee, as a brewed coffee, like we normally do. But then I also wanted to try it in cold. But we're just going to do a cold pour over, not. I mean, we're going to pour over the water in cold. So we have to get water. We got to first of all, let's put together our thing. So we've had the MSR, right? I have the little other MSR. This is the bigger MSR. Oh, this is kind of nice. This is the fancy one. Matt's got the fancy tools. Okay, then again here, just put this in here. Rusty says, "Hi all, just finished the Espinosa 10th anniversary Toro and iced coffee. Nice. Now inside relaxing with a bullet bottled in bond. Nice. Nice. I don't know what this little lever here is, but we're going to figure that out. Okay, so we've got this. We've got our kettle. There's a thermometer. I've got some water, so we're just going to pour the water onto it or into it. Should be good. Good Lord. Light. Now we have to ignite this thing here, so whoa. Okay. It's not as noisy as mine, which is actually kind of nice. Oh, but it is putting out a lot of heat. Like if I put my hand here, I can feel the heat on my hand. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Oh shit, that's hot. This is not a good thing. We'll turn that down a bit. Put that down while we get everything else prepared. So we've got to get George says, if Matt will allow it, you should bring that setup for. Oh, we can do that. We can certainly do that. I got to figure out how to brew this thing. So this is the fellow brewer. I forgot the name of it. It's got a stopper in here, and it's dual chambered, right? So it's got a vacuum chamber for greater thermal efficiency, and then it has it. The problem with this is it has proprietary filters. Look at these ridiculously tall filters, and I think we just take the filter. Gosh, look how tall these are. These are like almost as long as uh, but they're a little bit. These are like the Kalitas, kind of hard to get apart. So I think I need a new. This canister is going to be empty soon. So, all right, I'm trying to pull one out. I think that's it. It feels like they're fairly thick filters. Okay, so they have one big filter. Yeah, they're fairly thick. They're kind of like they feel kind of thick, like almost like a Chemex. When you put that in there, so there's a little bit of valve sensation, or kind of like just different hole patterns here, and just kind of shove it in there, right? Just shove it in there like that, right? And then you've got this diaphragm that is covering it. Rusty says, I'm going to start making. You say that as though you're joking, and I've already started. Like I said, that the idea that behind all of this is that I wanted to build a kit like this for myself, and I've got actually this box here. This is the box that I'm planning on using, which is relatively the same size as Matt's. Right, this is a box. What I like about this one, it has this little garage here, so I can put filters in the top left, flat filters in here. But this is still empty. But I've got it designed so that the idea is to replace. Like if you know Festool has these green accents. The idea is to replace it with slow accents in red, right? Like this. Of course, I ordered this part, and this part is the wrong part. It's not the same size. This is for the smaller size. I was like, oh gosh. I went to put it on yesterday. I was like, what in the world? And then I have a handle for it too, right? So that's in the works. Well, that's actually been in the works for like a long, long time now. Who knows how long it's going to take to finish. Really, for me, it's just about trying to figure out what is the brewing device that I really want to put in it. It should be made by, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, we're going to work on that. We're going to work more on that. I like that. Maybe that I'll do without the Festool logos. We need coffee. So we got the coffee, and we have our fellow Tally Pro. And we're going to, if you guys haven't seen this, this is like the fancy of fancy scales. Let me just turn this around because now I can't get I have to turn this around like this so that I can orient it so it'll tip over like thus. And lock this down. Okay, so now you can kind of see the fellow Tally Pro. And we're already boiling water already. So I'm gonna stop I'm gonna stop the gas. And we're going to scale out our thing here. So we've got our Commandante. You know how much I love doing hand grinding. It's really exciting and my dream of being fulfilled. Okay, so we got our coffee. We're gonna tear it out. We're gonna make 24 grams of coffee, right? Will 24 grams fit in this thing? This silly grinder. Oh, well, good, okay. Yeah, that's 24.8. Good, good, good. Probably somebody's commenting, you're not supposed to put that there. Yeah, I know. I just want to do it this way. It's my party and I can cry if I want to. Rusty says, I'm familiar with that fellow brewer. That was the brewer we used in the HCA booth at SCA 20. So any tips with this brewer? I'm going to take this and put it in here. I mean, this is the Comandante. Comandante is the grinder that everybody seems to think is like the greatest hand grinder. Oh, I'm going to break everything there on the planet. Now, it is fairly robust. Like there's this kind of wood pattern. I don't know if it's really a wood sleeve or just kind of a wood film that's on top, but it's on stainless. Like it's solid. Like I could take this and bludgeon someone with it. Okay, so that goes in there. And then the nice thing, this goes magnetic, right? Just kind of clicks on. And we're just going to grind. We're just going to use whatever grind setting Matt has this at. Oh, that's not so easy. George says, in the world premiere, these kits should be at Spoke Fest. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to work on that. I still haven't decided, like, what should be in the kit that I like. Like, if you guys have some input, have some ideas about what's really awesome, then let me know. I am interested to know. Like, what I don't like about this just offhand, it takes up so much space. It's so large. Like, I guess you could do 3 cups with it, or 4 cups with it, but it's just large. Oh, this sucks. This is like my least enjoyed and favorite part of doing any kind of coffee work is kind of the hand grind. This is why you most of the time you'll just see me like either pre-grind it or or some usually always pre-ground. Like scintillating stuff, I know. Scintillating. God, this is taking forever. What the? I don't feel like we're even halfway through this. This is just, I think it's very fine. Oh gosh, yeah, it's very fine. What the heck? Hope that means that it's coarse. That's more coarse. Okay, that's better. That's better. George says, you have just expanded your offerings. Spro Camp Mini or Spro Fest Maxi. Oh, I like that. That is a good idea. This sucks. Oh, that's faster. When you go to, oh no, it's not. It's just not. I'm just tilting it too much. My hands are getting numb. Like if I was using my DeWalt sander. You done? Come on. This blows. I was almost to the point I just don't care anymore. Like, I'm just going to pour whatever's in there. Okay, so we've got a little bit of whatever. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to take the coffee, fairly nicely ground now. Just pour it in there. We also got a lot of fine grinds. Tony says, I bet you wish that was battery pack. Yeah, man. Like this is no joy. There's no joy for me in this kind of thing. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to, we're going to tilt down. We're going to look at the brewing, right? Let's go back here. No, you can't really see it anyway. Anyway, the coffee, the hot water is already, we're gonna start pouring. So, oh, son of a gun, this thing, I really hate like the whole ritual of having to do everything a certain way with this. So, tear that, put the coffee in. I'm just gonna include this, and I like 1 to 14.5, which is our normal ratio. But the thing is, we've got, let's go down 360, 357, 343, because we have to offset the weight of this paper. And 350 grams is pretty much how much we want to be able to put in here. So we're going to start that and start our pouring. You can see here, starting this pouring. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do with this thing. Rusty, tell me. Speak to me. So I just put a little bit there to wet it. I mean, one nice thing about this, I think it, since it's fairly narrow, it's keeping it quite tight. Getting a lot of bubbling because, you know, there's still a lot of dryness. So it's trying to find its way through the bed of dry coffee. All right, that's terribly exciting. We've got, how much, we have 61 grams in there. We're going to go to like 80 some grams. Ouch. We're 85 grams, we're 45 seconds. So it's there's a lot of restriction, it seems like, but that could be just because of the, put on 100 grams now. That could just be because of the fineness of the grind. Like the grind is super fine, like like part of it is super fine. So that's not so nice, right? That's, and let's go with more. Like, I don't know if there's much, because it's so tight in here. I don't know if you need to do much pouring technique, because it just fills up and soaks the water. So the water, I mean, the coffee is completely soaked. So I don't know if there's much manipulation of the coffee that you need to do. We're at 168 grams. We're going to 350. I feel like we're just going to sit here and do nothing. George says, the secret is that these kits require 2 people, a grunt and a barista. Nice. That way the grunt is responsible for the cleanup. Oh, I like that idea. I like that idea. I like having a grunt with me to clean up. $225 grams. We're 2 minutes, 17, 18, 20 seconds into it. Actually, I kind of like this. I don't have to pay attention to it. I just got pour. I just don't have to do anything. It just saturates the coffee grounds and just flows through. I can see why people like that. So what are you guys smoking or drinking tonight? We know that Rusty had his cigar and is back inside. And yeah, what are you guys all having? I was looking at the notes from last week's show. You know, we did the EP Carrillo, Honduras. And then since we finished it a little bit early, I did a little bit of the last call by AJ Fernandez. And who knew that might have been the last call for AJ Fernandez? You might not have heard, but there was a fire at the AJ Fernandez factory this past week. I don't know, George, maybe you could tell us how much it actually burned and if how significant it is, how much of a setback it'll be for his clients. But my understanding is that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. All right, there we go, 348 grams. So we are on track. Huh. Maybe this has some kind of insulation properties, or maybe just because there's so much space between the pleats of the filter and the outer wall that it doesn't really feel hot. Down here, it's a little bit warmer, but not up here so much. George says, I have a Tatuaje Veracruz Robusto and some Yellowstone bottled in bond. Nice, nice. And Tony's having the AJ Fernandez LCA Purple People Eater. Oh, oh, all right. You're having the Purple People Eater, excellent, and a Dodge Cherry Pepsi. And I wonder if we should be smoking those because they're gonna. What's gonna happen? They're gonna be out, and we're not gonna be able to get any. Okay, are we done? Oh no, there's still more. There's still more in here. It's very slow. It's very slow. But anyway, so for tonight's, let me put this. Let me just do some housekeeping here. So tonight's cigar is the Yellowbird, which I believe is a companion to Tony's LCA Purple People Eater, because evidently these are supposed to be like part of a color series. And the Yellowbird, of course, is off of that big Yellowbird from that Nutty Street, right? Actually, I don't have to worry about that. It's from Sesame Street, of course. I'm not the one. I'm not the one infringing on the patent. Tony says the LCA factory is is north about an hour from his regular factory, so the LCA releases will continue. Okay. That's good. That's good. Oh, I should be pressing that. Okay. And then George Shem's having the West Tampa Red with some Phantom. Wow, really? No Nick Manillo cigars, huh? And George Brightman is having a fire at AGF is a massive. Oh, it is a massive loss. Millions of finished cigars, not just their brands, but clients, the foundation among others. Serious coat, man. Good Lord. And if the Big Orange gets his way, Sesame Street will probably go up in smoke too. That is what he's trying to do, isn't it, with the PBS and all that? So, and good riddance. Do we want all this socialism, all this woke, sensitive people talking, following the dictums of Christ? God. We should not follow woke people. Definitely don't follow Christ, because that guy was woke, letting like prostitutes and tax collectors sitting at his table. Good Lord. What will the children think? What am I going to do with this? Put that there for now. All right, so we got our coffee. And it is in here, so we're going to take our little mug, our Festool mug, turn this off. I'm going to pour it in here. Oh, also something we should talk about is speaking of the Christ, kind of in a related fashion, 600 some years later, Mom was celebrating the Eid this past Monday. We made the Eid al-Fitr, which is the official end of Ramadan. Congratulations. I hope you were all right there, Mom, with your fasting. That seems like a difficult thing. So from sundown to sun up, no. From sun up to sundown, no eating, no drinking, no nothing. You can't do it. That's the commitment for 1 month. This is why Christians and Catholics aren't Muslim, because that's just too much. That's just too much. It's like no pork, no eating, no drinking. Christians, you don't drink alcohol? What? That's crazy. That's crazy. So, nice, good sweetness, body. Very nice, very nice. Now, what we also wanted to try was it's cold. I got some ice over here. So I'm just putting this ice in this mug. What does it say here? A butter beer mug. It's a butter beer mug. And we're just going to pour it over that just to see the performance difference, especially since it's a warmer day, right? Oh, you like the color? Excellent. And there's Happy Aid. Rusty said, in 2022, when we first used that brewer, the learning curve was hard. Really? Grind side was a pain because with that narrow filter and flow rate, it wasn't highlighting the coffee. Ah, okay, gotcha. Brian, so that's what's going on, Brian, man. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. So here's our cold coffee. One thing about pouring coffee over like ice like this, it does give a little bit of metallicness to it. Mom says, thanks. You get used to it after a while, but he's been doing it for 20 years. Oh, 20 years, man. Don't need Ozempic when you do that. Rusty says, by the end of the show, we nailed it as best as we could. And when we returned in 2023, I brought my notes from the year before and we tweaked it from there. So what did you come up with that made it really great? Like, what was the way, and what is the name of this brewer? I don't even know the name of the brewer. All right, so let's, while we think about that, here's our cigar. The Yellowbird from Liga Privada. Evidently, this cigar is a rebrand, a special release for Privada cigar by Aladino. This is supposed to be the Aladino, what is it called? Aladino Vintage Selection, and just in a separate size. Now, so this cigar has, all Honduran tobacco, Honduran Habano wrapper, and then Corojo Honduran binder and filler. And it's cute. It's got this little eyes and then feet. It's got little feet here, the orange feet. This came from Mom. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate this. So it's a fairly lighter colored cigar, right? The wrapper is light. It looks a little bit rough. Like you can see it here. It's a little bit rough looking. Just kind of like, like, I don't know how to say that. Now, let me get got my paper. Now I need a pen, a pencil. Okay, so fairly light on the wrapper here. That's kind of interesting. There's a light spiciness to it. It's lighter overall. It doesn't. Typically, a lot of these Nicaraguan cigars we smoke have like manure, barnyard. This doesn't really have that. This has a whole different kind of aroma. Could it be something like the Honduran we had last week from EP Korea, where it's very different than our typical experience? I don't even know how to really describe that. But it's pleasant. There's sweetness, a little bit of spice. Interesting. Let me just get this off of here. I'm going to take the footband off. Take the footband. I'm going to cut with our El Cheapo cutter. The wrapper feels a little bit on the delicate side, right? Like, look at that. It looks a little bit rough, a little bit. George says typical Honduran tobacco goes more towards the haze side as opposed to horse shit from the barnyard notes. Ah, good to know. Good to know. Rusty says the main problem was the grinder we had in the booth. Don't remember what brand, but it was constantly. I really need to do this. Like, this is really just. I'm really getting old. Constantly change grind size for each coffee. Oh, gotcha. George says rustic is the polite way. Of course. Oh, that's not enough. Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's do some cold drawing. It's a little bit tight. And there's this very different flavor on the palate. I don't even know how to describe it. It's very strange, but very different. Huh. Interesting. I'm going to say 8. All right, let's get our our light on. Tony says you look distinguished in the specs on, and it is inevitable since you did just. I know. It's so terrible. Like I mean, the problem is that I really shouldn't be looking too far away while wearing these glasses because then I get all like. But yeah, George Brightman says fresh and green floral. Oh, that's kind of a fresh and green. Actually, is a good way to say it. It's very. Oh, look at that! It's coming apart. It is nice. Like whatever it is, it's nice. Vegetal green. That's a good way to describe what I'm tasting. So George Brightman, how was your event last weekend? Did it go well? The one up in Jersey? Yeah, see if I like that's all just like on the very edge of where I can look. Otherwise I start to get a little bit like so the first light up, a little bit soft. Soft frame, it is nice. Mm, thank you. That's very kind, very kind. It was my birthday on Tuesday. I just kind of hung out and had a nice time. Had a nice time. George says the Miracle After Midnight was a great success. Excellent. So there's actually some brightness to this cigar. Did you have a good turnout up there? So I think that the draw is a little bit on the tighter side, but still very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I mean, well, it's kind of almost tight, like almost too tight, right? Like, could it be like if it was tighter, I'd be a little, it'd be more difficult. Oh, it was a full house. Awesome, awesome. George says he's back in Parkridge on Sunday for another day-long session. Oh, awesome, awesome. So tell me more about like what happens. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Tell me about what happens at these events. Like, of course, it's a Mirafil event. So are you just kind of hanging out, you know, and sharing stories with them, or is there like a formal presentation? Oh, Craig's here. What's going on, Craig? Doing some electrical in the work now. We'll try to have us. Oh, nice. I'm presuming the electrical work is on the new house. How's that coming along? Are we making good progress, or is it slow going? Slow going. I got to write some notes down here. It feels very light overall for me. You know what it is? I think there's like a bourbon-esque, whiskey-esque character to some of the flavor notes that I'm tasting or experiencing. Now here in the garage, I uh, I had to make some changes here because like one of the doors, the spring wire retention wire broke, so it wasn't pulling the door up anymore. So I had to call the repair guy, and he was like, "Oh, you need to clean out your space so that we can work." So all right. So I cleaned out all this the space so the crew could work, which was great. But I've had to reconfigure everything, and I've also been getting rid of a lot of stuff. So now the configuration is such that it's different than it was last week. So I was having a cigar here last night, but and the feel I feel like the airflow isn't the same as it was. Like it used to come in the door, one door, go around all this detritus, this whole like stuff that was in the center, it would go around it, and then the fan here would blow it out. Well, a lot of that has been reduced, so it's not as tight of a path. So I think it's not flowing in the same way. So George Brightman says that champagne welcome, caviar with blinis and creme fraiche, and then we do a guided tasting of either a Mare blend or an Ernst size paired with some Lagavulin 16. Wow. So is this something they just walked in on or could just join at the last moment or just walk in and it's all like complimentary except for the cigar? Or is it like something that they had reservations and they paid money and I'm curious how much the fee was. Rusty says, I was a bit too late for me to make it up there, but you're there on Sunday again? Brian says, he took my Jura Z9 in for a refurb, $486 with tax. Whoa. Same day service. Wow. They replaced everything since it had over 13,000 shots through it. They even replaced the display. Wow. Basically a new machine with original body. Wow, that's amazing. How much is a Jura like that new? Like if you were to just replace it rather than have it rebuilt. And how long has it lasted for 13,000 shots? George says, Rusty, yes, a start time about 1 p.m. and probably go till 7. Wow, that's awesome. Oh, it was a ticketed, oh, where did it go? It was a ticketed by reservation offered to members for 120. Okay, oh, that's not bad. That doesn't seem like a very bad game. And since you said it was Mirfell at midnight, was it at like late at night or? But this weekend it's wide open, no ticket, just buy your smokes. Okay, okay. Oh, there you go. Rusty Mom, you should go check it out. Tony says we had a fantastic breakfast and cigars while we waited for the repairs. Oh, nice. Where oh, was this up in Pennsylvania? Was this today? You guys went there? They must have it so that they have like completed modules. So they just rip the module out and put it back in and then replace as many modules as they need. Brian says, I think the Z10 was 3,500. Oh yeah, man, that's a hell of a deal then. $486 and you get a rebuild machine without spending that money. That's good. That's solid. That's a solid deal. Yes, we started tasting. Wow, started seating at 11:30. Cigars at oh, that's amazing. So what time did everyone go home that night? That sounds crazy. 2, 3. I mentioned 3. I got a woo. This is no good. That fan is right on my head. Better. Tony says it's Monday at the Jura Hospitality Center just outside of Lancaster. Oh, nice. Hospitality Center. So do tell more. Like, what is that all about? Like, what is it? Is it a nice place? Did you smoke cigars at the Hospitality Center? George says 3 a.m. and we had to kick the. I believe it. I believe it. Like on a Tuesday, I went up to Pennsylvania to go pick up some items, and I stopped by this place in Lancaster on the way back. I mean, not Lancaster, but in York. This hi-fi, this old like school, like and not antiques, but like vintage hi-fi shop. You should check it out. I've been there before several times. But across the street from that place, is the DeWalt Service Center. And I was like, oh, I need a part. I need a part for my planer. So I went over there, asked them. It's like, hey, do you have this part? They had the part, which is great. $8, so super easy. And the girl was telling me, we were talking about tools, and I was like, she was like, no, we have a trade-up program. I was like, trade-up program? What is that all about? So you could take your old tool, Like I've got this old DeWalt 18-volt drill, and she was like, "Yeah, you can bring it in, and we'll give you a percentage discount on a new tool to replace it." And I was like, "What?" So I could get a new generation drill, like an XR drill? Huh. Oh. And I tried to look it up online, and I couldn't find much information about it. So I don't know if it's something that's limited offer, or if it's ongoing. Oh, I gotta go up that way tomorrow. Maybe I'll swing by. Swing by. They were telling me about this saw, right? I was like, 'cause I was asking, I got this trim saw, right? That I really like. Had it since like 99, 1999. Rushy says, yeah, no way I could last till 3 a.m. Plus, oh yeah, that's too much. Sunday's the day. Sunday's the day. Tony says we had coffee there. We had coffee. No, we had coffee there. It's basically every machine Jura makes on display that you can look at and feel, touch, play with, and then they have their repair facility in the back. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. So I'm enjoying this now. It's very different than other cigars that we've had. Very different than Nicaraguan cigars. Maybe there's some similarities to last week's cigar from EP Carrillo in that it's just different. A little more mineral, definitely more minerality, definitely brighter, definitely lighter, not so heavy. That there is that bourbon-esque kind of character to it that in the flavors. Actually, it's kind of enjoyable. I'm really kind of and if this is an Aladino, it's kind of different than the Aladinos that I recall smoking. Like I'm used to the brown and red and yellow wrap banded Aladinos. Tony says Jura has a similar program that they offer at that facility. Oh, nice. You mean with the exchanging? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, but like they were telling me, like I have this. This is the DeWalt. What is this? The DW 936. It's a 5 3/8 trim saw, and actually I've been using it. As you can see here, I've got an adapter from the 18-volt battery to the 20-volt battery, and I gotta say this has been an awesome saw. Like I use this a lot, even today. Like I use it a lot because it's so much more small and compact than my larger drills, right, or larger saws. But I was asking her, so what's the replacement for this? She's like, well, you can replace that and get the new one. But she's like, the new ones are 6 1/4 inch, not 5 3/8. So they're bigger. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go bigger. So I don't know. Maybe I'll bring the drill. I got the drill and see what kind of discount and deal I can get. Tony says, that's how I got my last drill machine. Oh, okay. So they rate it on some kind of percentage off. Is that correct? Oops. Now I gotta say that the draw is a little bit on the tighter side. I would like it to be a little bit more free flowing. There's definitely some kind of limey citrusiness to it, like kind of on the an undercurrent of that. Okay, that's nice. Oh, that's better. Metallicness has subsided. I've been working on my chair. I was working on my chair over the last week. I haven't worked on it since Monday though. So finally getting closer to finishing this chair. It's made of walnut. This is the back. This is the backrest. Then I was working on the seat. Really, the seat was the one that I was working on a lot this past weekend. Trying to get the seat finished, the shaped out, and then like I had to put some butterflies in here. So I use this thing called the Shaper Origin, and this is kind of like a handheld CNC router. So you just kind of on the screen, it's like super high tech, and you figure out what you want to do, and you put it on your workpiece, and then it shows you how to move the router in in a certain pathway to get the shape, whether you're doing the negative or you're doing the actual positive, right? The mortise or the tenon that goes in here. And I think it turned out all right with that. Look at those. I think those look pretty good. Takes a while. It's kind of slow. Like I wanted to go faster, and then I totally mucked it up, right? Like, see these big ones here? That's because when I was assembling the halves, I made a big mistake and like wasn't able to clamp them. So I was like, oh, I'm going to put some pocket hole screws into it to pull them together because because with this shape, there's no way to really clamp it strongly. And in my panic, because I already had the glue in, and I realized too late that even though I knew about this beforehand, I was like, oh, let me I'm going to take the pocket hole screws and put them in the bottom. Well, that's a good idea if you remember to turn it over and use the bottom. And I drilled it right into the top face. So I had to come up with a way to kind of conceal that a little bit. And that's kind of what I came up with. So almost there, almost there. Maybe by next week we'll be done. George says, I was thinking of a similar upgrade program for your cigars for cigar stores. You bring in your ashes from the recent smokes, and we offer you fresh cigars in exchange, but it's by weight. Oh man. Could you bring in like would it be like equivalent weight? Man, having to keep all of that ash and the smell, holy gosh, that would be terrible. Tony says, I'm not sure how they figured it out, but I got $500 credit on a machine I bought for 1070 because it was refurbished and had almost 12,000 copies prepared. Oh, that's pretty. I would say if you paid 1070 and you got $500, half of that in credit towards a new machine after putting 12,000 shots. That's actually you made out. You made out. All right. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely a brighter, more minerality cigar here. But has a 5-gallon bucket full of ash. Oh yeah, he does, man. Every time you open that bucket, like, ooh. How many cigars can we get for that? Smoke production is nice. It's fair. It's smoking well. Look at the color of the ash is nice. But I am going to tap it out because I'm getting a little bit nervous. George says, sure, buddy. You could easily walk away with 2 new cigars. Perfect. What more can you ask for? 2 new Kentucky Cheroots. Brian says they also fixed my Z5 for free. So 2 machines, only need one, but it was so nice. Wait, so you brought 2 machines to them and they fixed one for free? Did they tell you why? That seems so interesting. Tony says the new one was 2,200, also refurbished. So 1,700 after trade-in and 1,700 after trade-in and had 12 per. Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't know why. I hear 1,700 for a machine. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot. Guess it's not real. It's not really that much, right? Oh, that's much better. Now I can totally see much better. But so every 3 months, 2 cigars. Now you guys got to know something about Bud. Bud's our good friend who was infamous for. If you guys remember, there used to be a cigar called the what was it called? The Cuba Aliados. Cuba Aliados was a great cigar, and then he came out with the green label one. And the guy that made it was Rolando Reyes. And so this is many years ago. So there was a time when Rolando Reyes released a cigar called the Roly, Roly, and he would have this Roly, and it was a bundle cigar, cheap. You know, a couple of those rounds were that he made them were fairly good, right? Just nice, cheap cigar. But one day, came out with them again, and Bud like stocked up, like hardcore, like ridiculous amounts, like filled an entire like walk-in humidor with them, right? Some 10,000 cigars. But this was after the good rollies had been gone, and they weren't making them as well as they were, and so for years he was smoking those cigars. Years. I was like, man, this guy's got he's hardcore, man, hardcore. Brian says the free repair was just them priming the pump after the lines dried out since it's okay. Yeah, sometimes that priming actually gets you. George says Rolling Stogies were a bargain, but really, but the last bundle that he had, I think they were pink labeled. Is that right, Bud? I don't remember. I just kind of remember what they look like, but man, those were some cheap cigar. But I used to love the Cuba Aliados. Love those. And then I think what George, did he sell it or and then the green label, the green banded cigar, Puros Indios. That's what it was. Puros Indios. I have the Chief, the big one. I still have it. I bought it. It was one of those big, this huge, long ones. I just keep it really kind of for nostalgia. And Sticky, yeah, man, those were like brutal cigars. Brian says Bud was smoking for effect only back then. Tony says, but they did more than that, but they just didn't warranty the repair because it was gotcha. Tony says I have one of those at my shop so we can smoke. Oh man, that would be kind of. But you know, I've had this Chief since it came out. It's one of those things like, do you want to smoke it anymore? Like, not that it'd be bad, but just like, it's such a novelty. Like, what I really wish I could have gotten was one of those femurs from Roma Craft, because those were 130 ring gauge. 130. When I was at the factory one year, Skip showed me the mold, and I was like, "There's only 2 cigars in a mold." So you're like, "What is this craziness?" George says, "Puros Indios was a boom era effort to get more money for the same cigar." Ah, I like those though. I think I still have a box somewhere. Brian says, I'm not sure all they did, but it's working perfectly. So, nice. So one is going to be in the cigar room, one is going to be in the house. And how is the cigar room coming? Tony says it's probably ready to smoke now. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. George says you would need 2 nights to smoke a Chief. Yeah, you probably, gosh, man, that thing was super long. I wonder how long it would take. 4 hours? Maybe we will do that. Maybe we'll do that for one of the episodes. Sit down, smoke the chief. Oh yeah, it does say Aladino on the band. Look at that. Well, that's cool. It's good. It's just different. It's just different than what we normally have. Tony says, George, we had an event one night back in the 90s, early 2000s, where I think I smoked one in 2 hours and 22 minutes. Wow. 2 hours and 22 minutes. I never smoked the Chief. I always wanted to get the Cuba Aliados version of the Chief because I think they had one of those. Again, light minerality, kind of bourbon-esque. Some of this like citrusy lime. Like this is an interesting cigar in that respect. It's very different. Well, I guess it's very different because I've been smoking a lot of the Maestranzas lately from Roma. Since I got a box of them, I have smoked a little bit more this past week than in the past like 4 months. I must say that Maestranza, I specifically have the Castellito Murcia, which is only featured on the show a few weeks back. But man, I am liking that cigar a lot. But I'm not sucking them down as at a high rate of speed. But I have been sitting out here a couple nights this week thinking, should I do like Brian and smoke this cigar again? Like, Brian likes to smoke the same cigar in a row. And I don't like to do that. But I was thinking, man, I could, totally could. George just says that Rolando Reyes Jr. used to walk around the trade show or a big smoke smoking a chief and would last all day or all night. Wow. Tony says he also made an extra large Hemingway size thing that I can't remember the name of. You mean Hemingway as in from Fuente made a big one? Oh, I don't remember that. Brian says cigar room has space for two, but tonight's sitting on the side porch. I like that. I think that side porch is where I would like to sit. Like, I don't know if I told you this, but one day when Brian was away and he was like, "Hey, I'm getting a fridge. Can you go make sure it's all right?" And I was like, "Sure, man, no problem." So I went over there. And I remember seeing that patio, and I was like, this little tiny patio, right, with little chair, like a table and two chairs. And I was like, that is like the dope place to smoke. It's on the side of the house, just this little patio. It's like a perfect smoking patio like that. And I was like, man, I'm gonna smoke that. But I didn't have keys to the house, and you had to. And I thought there was a way to access that porch, that little, by stairs from outside. But there's not. You have to go through the house. And I was like, oh man, I don't have keys. If I had keys, I was gonna sit out there. And then I was thinking after we got all secured, I was like, maybe I'll just climb over the balustrade and sit there. I was like, oh gosh, last thing I want the neighbors to be like, why is the fat Asian guy climbing over the balustrade? Maybe we should call the police. Funny thing is, the furniture from the old cigar room has been covered and sitting on the new porch since we moved in. I took the cover off and got a whiff of old man. Man. That must have been quite an eye opener. Tony says, George, help me out. It was the Puros Indios pertaining a deluxe that looked like an oversized Hemingway. Oh, Britannia Deluxe. I don't recall that. Oh, it's a look. Just look. It just had that figurado shape. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, like this. The distance that I'm sitting from the phone is right at the very edge of where I should be using these. Like, this is great for reading close, not so there. Like, oh, I need to check messages. I'm looking for, what is it? I'm looking for some messages. I'm supposed to be communicating with this person for tomorrow, but I haven't heard back from her. Yes, the Britannia Deluxe. Oh wow, really? I don't remember that. George says the Hemingway masterpiece was a majestic smoke, but only about 9 inches, whereas the Puros Indios giant figurados were 24. Wow, wow, that's crazy. Wow, that's crazy. I'm looking at this thing on the shelf in front of me. It's kind of far away. It's one of those gravy separators where it's kind of looks like a beaker with a spout. You're supposed to pour your gravy, and it separates the gravy from the fat. I've had it for years. I've never used it. I should probably give that away. I've been taking a lot of stuff to like the Habitat for Humanity, the restore, like just trying to get rid of as much as I possibly can. Like, go, go, go. And it's a daunting task because there's still a lot of stuff. And I feel like I'm giving away a lot. I even sold my generator. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell this generator. I had this generator for 25 years. It's a great generator, Honda generator, EB 3500. And I was like, I'm just gonna get rid of it. I just gotta get rid of it. So I finally put up a marketplace, man, and it was like sold like that. Like it was like people were calling me, like they were like, message, message, message. Do you still have it? Do you still have it? I think I think I left money on the table, no doubt, because I priced it. I priced it to move. Like I was like, $100, come get it. And man, people were like, one guy was like, messaged me. He's like, do you? I said, I'm talking to some guy right now. He's like, I'll give you 140. I was like, I can't. I can't. I would love to take your money, but I've already committed to this. I've already told this guy that I'm talking to him, and he has to be the first into the queue. But he came up, and that guy, he was like an hour or so away, and he was like, oh, do you think we? After he was like, he looked at he's like, oh, there's a lot of traffic. Do you think we could do it tomorrow? I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be available tomorrow. Plus, I've already got all these people messaging me. So if you come, I'll give it to you, but you got to come now or today. And he came. So he came up and nice guy and told me he's actually from Guatemala and he does work here. But he says I had a Honda 7000 generator that I sent to Guatemala to the family there, and it powers their whatever that wherever they live. And I was like, oh, but it's really use a lot of gas and it's kind of loud. I said, well, it's not that. It's not. This is not that quiet. He said, yeah, but it'll be better on the gas for them. I said, oh, so you're going to send it down? He's like, yeah, I'm going to send it to Guatemala. I was like, oh man, my little generator's now going to Guatemala. It's like, oh, I will never see my generator again. I felt kind of sad. I was really surprised about that. I was like, oh man. You mean the gravy separator? If that's what you're talking about, then it's yours. But if we want the gang to enjoy a marathon smoke for a live show, we could do a Tatuay Escassos. Hey, oh, that sounds like a nice. That sounds good. I think we could say that the first third is finished, and I think it's been very good. So I'm going to say, flavor-wise, 8.5. It's body-wise, it's not very heavy. It's relatively mild, but I think qualitatively also 85. So nice start off, very good. George says super rare. I'll have to ask Pete to get them for me. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll make a plan and have a Escassos A party. Actually, heading to Houston in a couple weeks. The annual coffee trade show is happening in Houston, and so I was thinking, what am I going to do in Houston? What am I going to smoke? Maybe I'm going to go to Stogie's World Famous. I used to go to Stogie's when I was in town because it's all the way down on Westheimer Parkway. Nice shop, big, good selection. Then I was thinking about going to visit my cousin who lives in San Antonio because she's her and her family are moving to Vegas soon. So I was like, oh, I got to go check it out in San Antonio. And then I know this other guy that owns a cigar shop there. I have to look up the name, man. I met him years ago at the trade show. We used to hang out at the trade show together, but I haven't seen him at the PCA in the recent years that I went. But I'm going to look up his shop. I looked it up a couple, maybe last year, and it was still in existence. So I was like, okay. He gave me a challenge coin. Bring my challenge coin. And I'll be like, I'm here, brother. I'm here. Maybe if I'm there at the right time, maybe we can like do a show there. But I don't know if I'll be able to stay there that long because the 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 trade show runs through Sunday, and then if I go to San Antonio, it'll be Monday, Tuesday, and then maybe as Austin Wednesday into Thursday, and then maybe fly home. Maybe fly home Thursday. I haven't quite decided yet, but I really need to because it's almost here. So, and George, aren't you going? Isn't the PCA this week? I know the National Association of Broadcasters show, which I normally go to, is actually happening now. It starts, yeah, it starts this weekend. So I will not be going to that. Normally, I'll go to that if normally the coffee trade show and the NAB are like back to back weekends. So I would just usually go to one first and then fly to the other one the last few years. But then like now they're like bookending the month. So I was like, well, I'm not going to go to that because I don't want to do 2 trips in a month. George says, George One says, I'm not moving on to a great cigar like you guys are talking about because I don't have one. So I'm moving on to a 2015 Kohonu. Oh. Man, wait to drop the mic on us there. Wait to drop the mic. The PCA is in New Orleans from the 11th to the 14th. Oh, okay. There's still time. George says, Keith and Tiffany, husband and wife run competing. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Oh, the Rumbo family run the oldest shops in San Antonio. So the husband and wife are running competing shops, and they're totally separate. Is that right? All right, I'm gonna have to go check that out. I'll go check that out. Can I tell them George sent me? Be like, George sent me. Brian says, George, which one do you prefer, husbands or wives? Ah, yeah, there you go. Tell us. We want to know. George likes Tiffany's shop. Oh, what's it called again? Let me look at this up here. The Rumble. What do you know the names of these shops? Tiffany Rumble. I'm just gonna punch her name in. Tiffany Rumble Cigar. There is a Tatuaje the Rumble. There is a Tiffany Rumbo on X that has something called the Pandora Valentine's event. I imagine that's not to be. Oh, I guess the Tatuaje the Rumbo is to be the shop exclusive. Says Cigar Coop. Who evidently Coop was just in Harrisburg today or yesterday. Club Humidor. There it is. Club Humidor, a chain of retailers in San Antonio, Texas, will be receiving a limited edition shop exclusive cigar that coincides with the shop's 20th anniversary. Wow. This cigar will be called the Tatuaje the Rumble and be available on sale on May 22nd, 2015. Oh, nice. George says that George one says that the spirit selection has moved to vodka martini with brine from both regular and blue cheese olives. Oh, accompanied by blue cheese olives. Wow, 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 wow. That's crazy. Did I tell you about my excursion last week? I had an excursion last week, last Wednesday. I must have told you this because it was last Wednesday. My former manager and I, Sue, went out to have martinis, dirty martinis, at this place called the Royal Blue. Very nice, very nice. Craig's back. What's going on, Craig? How are you, man? Good to see you. Club Humidor is the name. All right, we'll check it out. So does the husband also run a store called Club Humidor, or is it a completely different thing? I will go there and I'm going to tell Tiffany. I'll be like, hey, I'm friends with George Brightman, and I'm going to name drop because hi, George Brightman sent me. Said you this is better than your husband's job. I said, which one should I go to? He's like, yes, go to this one. All right, I'll go to that one. Oh, it is the same company. Okay. It would be kind of interesting if they weren't, like they were totally like battling it out, like hardcore. Like they would have some, like they would try to cut each other out of accounts. I think that would be kind of funny to watch. Craig's finally having the first cigar in a long time. Wow, how long? It's been a while. Since you have told us in the past that you typically only smoke when you're with us. We haven't seen you in a while, a good friend, and haven't seen you in a while. So glad to have you back with us. The Vegas Robena Familiar Corona size, nice. So Craig, tell us, in Ottawa, since it's the capital, man, how pissed off are people there? Like from what I see on my Facebook feed, like Canadians are way pissed off. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning why. I understand, but man, what I see on my feed, and I'm not talking about like I'm watching news feeds. I'm just people that I may follow that I know from Canada. They're all kind of mad. I was like, whoa, I've never seen Canadians get this mad. Even your prime minister was all like, I just saw his video today, and he was all like, he was just like, we're going to hit with retaliatory tariffs. And I was like, oh, all right. Very good. Very good. George says their father was a legendary tobacconist. A legendary tobacconist maker figure in the T, and a big figure in the TA back in the day. Okay, nice. You know, one thing I'm curious, George, is like today's PCA comes out of the old IPCPR, the one that Ira Fader used to run. And the TAA and the PCA, how are they really different? Like in the coffee world, we have the SCA, the Specialty Coffee Association of America, or the Specialty Coffee Association now. And then we've always had also the NCA, the National Coffee Association. The National Coffee Association was always the organization that was really more corporate, like really for the big boys, like Folgers and Farmer Brothers and things like that. Whereas the specialty coffee was the smaller niche businesses. So I'm curious to know. I'm just curious, like, how do the TAA and the PCA compare, or what are the big differences? Brian says that Shem is living the dream with those great like blue cheese martinis. George says Canadian retaliation already in effect. It will hurt smaller distilleries who export to Canada. Yeah, but I think that a lot of these, I don't even think they're carrying. Like, I remember seeing reports where the company evidently there's some kind of system in Canada with the liquor that it's on the shelves, but it's not necessarily sold. So they could pull them from the shelves and return them without loss. And I was like, wow, that's man. I saw people posting pictures of signs that were like, nothing is here from us from America. And I was like, oh, it's pretty hardcore. It's pretty hardcore. Craig says that the groaning has gone down since Trump stopped the 51st state talk every day. Dude, that doesn't mean much, though. That crazy man probably still wants to invade. George says TAA is a smaller subset of retailers who consider themselves elite, while the PCA is wide open. Oh, gotcha. So how do you become an elite tobacconist? I'm curious. Like, to be admitted in as a member of the TAA, what do you have to do? Or is it just a matter of just like applying and then paying? George is trying. We know, man. We're envious. Dirty martinis. And George says the largest buyer of spirits in the world is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. Wow, really? Oh, so that's really a painful hit. And then we have tariffs across the board now, right? The United States has now imposed tariffs across all countries. Oh, by the way, except for Russia. Evidently, Russia is not covered by tariffs. And we have like 350, we have evidently an inverse export import relationship with Russia. So I read this report today that said that the president was like, we don't have or somebody from the White House was like, we don't have a tariff on Russia because Russia's already suffering from sanctions that are existing from invasion of Ukraine. Of course, they didn't say invasion of Ukraine. I'm saying invasion of Ukraine, but I was like, oh well, because they already have sanctions, they're not going to get more tariffs. But they also put tariffs on other countries such as Russia or such as Iran and Syria that have already sanctions on them. So I don't know, man. Maybe we need to order some Stolichnaya. Baldhead says liquor in Canada is government controlled, so it is easy to pull stock from the stores and just use stock to supply bars and restaurants. Ah, okay, gotcha. So are they still selling American spirits in bars and restaurants? Or they also pulled those as well? George says membership in TA is by acceptance. You have to clear the process, and existing members can approve or deny based on geographic boundaries. Wow, that is very like. So, what is the process? I'm curious. What is the process? Like, if I was a retailer and I wanted to join the TAA, what would I have to do? And to your knowledge, like here in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area, who are the major like TAA members? And what's that? So if they're protecting geographic boundaries of membership, what is the benefit of membership that you would need to protect? Like, I mean, other than the fact that you're elite and that's enough. But I mean, like, are there other criteria that they must? I gotta say, this cigar is very consistent. It's been very good. And Craig says, but LCBO, etc., are not ordering new stock from U.S. distilleries. That's a problem for those guys. That's a problem. George says you have to gain admission, but only if members in the territories approve your application. Being a TAA retailer gains you exclusive access to exclusive products. I've seen people like Tatuaje and all them releasing special TAA only releases. I presume I presume those are quite valuable to the retailer. But I'm also curious to know, like, if you're a member of the TAA as a retailer, what kind of value does the TAA bring to you to make the membership process, and I'm sure whatever fees that are incurred, what makes it worthwhile for membership? I mean, just the access to exclusive products, or are there more? Maybe trainings or some kind of education. Tony says he's moving on to the Ezra Zion Lancero. Not sure which one. Band was a poster. What? Band was a poster. George says the Humidor up there in Cockeysville is a member. So are the Davidas stores, if memory serves. Ah, okay. How about you guys at Capitol? Are you guys also members there? So do you mean, Tony, you're not going to do the Ezra Zion, or you don't like the Ezra Zion? I ran into this issue recently while I was cutting the stock for this chair, right? I have this one saw, this track saw from Festool, one of the really old ones. I got it for like super cheap. So I wanted to try it out for one of the videos that I'm working on. And I was like, cutting the stock for these pieces, just doing cross cuts. And this thing would bog down, like it wouldn't cut through it's like 2.25 inch thick walnut, and it wouldn't cross cut across the grain. And I was like, what is going on? It just wasn't going. And I was like, what is going on with this thing? Underpowered? Is the blade like worn out? I cleaned the blade. The machine hadn't been used very much, so I can't imagine that the blade is really dull, but it might be. And I was like, man, what is going on? So I took my other track saw, the new one, and it cut through it like butter. And I was thinking, man, maybe. And then I was thinking about it today because we were cutting walnut, 4/4, 1 inch walnut. I mean, 1 inch oak, white oak at Matt's place, right? And Matt has another Festool. He's got the bigger TS-75, and and he was having a little bit of it was taking a little bit of a long time to cut through it. And I was like, that takes a little bit of while. And he was ripping it this time down the grain, and I was like, thinking, these older saws have a blade that has what they call a kerf, right? The kerf is the width of the blade, right? And as it's cutting, these ones are like, what do you call it? 2.2 millimeters in width. The one that I have that cut through the walnut like butter is a 1.8 millimeter kerf, so thinner. And I really am starting to wonder, like that little 0.4 millimeters really seems to, I think, really seems to make a big difference. Brian says maybe Kentucky will become a blue state. Maybe. Unlikely. George says the product is worthwhile and it grants some status, but it's up to the individual retailer to make it truly valuable. Capital isn't a member yet, isn't yet a TAA member, because both Drapers and Davidas are TA members. So you would expect, that the expectation then would be that they would block your membership. Is that am I reading that correctly? And George says Kentucky just approved cigar bars. Oh, good. They need to approve those kind of things. And evidently, I was reading, Skip Martin was posting today on his Facebook page. He was like, and evidently Steve Saka had posted earlier about it, that these the new tariffs that dropped today or yesterday also apply to tobacco, which means they're probably going to apply to coffee. I should be reading about that. I mean, I don't know if I'm correct in this, George, but my understanding has been that there have not really been duties on tobacco import. I mean, like there are OTPs and things like that, and the S chips. But I mean, well, I guess that would be it. Like we don't have that in coffee. We don't have any kind of import duties on coffee, but that might be changing. I should probably look at that. How do I didn't even think tariffs affect green coffee? Oh, here we go. Daily Coffee News says that here are the new U.S. tariffs on major coffee producing exporting countries, which is really great because we've already had like triple. The price of coffee has tripled in the past year. So the Liberation Day tariffs include new fees between 10 to 46% on imports from 15 of the world's top 20 coffee producing countries. So evidently the National Coffee Association that I mentioned earlier has previously called for the coffee to be exempted from new tariffs. Every dollar of coffee-related imports generates $43 in value for the American economy, and coffee supports 2.2 million U.S. jobs, all while being America's favorite beverages, said NCA President Bill Murray, not related to the actor. Since coffee beans cannot grow in most of the United States, trade policy should take into account the essential role of coffee trade in America's daily lives and in the U.S. economy to ensure the Americans don't face even higher coffee prices and the cost of amid the current cost of living crisis. So right now, new U.S. tariff rates for major coffee exporting countries. Vietnam is the highest at 46%, Myanmar 44%, Thailand 38%, China 34%, Indonesia 32%. Switzerland's only there not because they grow coffee, but because a lot of the big companies have their trading offices in Switzerland. I don't really understand the reason, but like for example, all of the buyers for Starbucks, for example, are based in their Switzerland offices for, so of course, always for taxation, some kind of. India 27%, Malaysia 24%, the EU is at 20%, Nicaragua is at 18%, Nigeria 14%, the DRC at 11%, Brazil at 10%, Colombia 10%, Peru 10%, Costa Rica 10%, Ecuador 10%. So everything else, Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador 10%. However, they did not mention in this chart places like Nicaragua or El Salvador. Oh no, they did El Salvador, or like Costa Rica or Panama or Mexico. Mexico, although I'm sure we're taxing Mexico. George says that tariffs are going to hit almost every variety of consumer goods. I guess the takeaway here is that freedom isn't free. Get ready for pricing. Yeah, we've had price. Our price increases have been. I mean, my prices for coffee over the past year. I mean, they really have And the reality is that, and in our case, it's been. We haven't seen the effect of the tariff yet. Although I'm sure when I look at my reports for next week's order, it's going to be there. But like, there's always I've heard some of the people, some of the pundits online, they were like, companies that can absorb their costs, and it's like, no, you can't absorb those. You can, or you can, you won't. Like, you'll absorb some because you want to try to like buffer like the impact of increased pricing on your customer base, but that's only works to a certain point, and then you have to like raise prices. And we were finally Spro was forced to raise prices this year. And if we're talking upwards of 25% of increase on the, I mean, there's no way to absorb that. There's no absorption of that. We'll just have to raise prices. There's really no way around that. Craig says the USA coffee coming into the Canada is now 25%, including roasted. So does that be the 25% though is because Canada is now tariffing imports into Canada? Is that correct? That's my presumption. Or is that because that's my presumption here, because we've already gone through the price increases. It's pretty bad. George says, gents, I've got to step off. Stovetop Cook is calling for my attention. All right, man, we'll have a great one. Thanks for tuning in, George. Good to see you. Have a great week out there. Brian says, I don't want anything excluded. MAGA needs to know what they voted for. Well, I don't think there's anything being excluded except for Russian products. Retaliatory. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I wonder how many shops and companies import coffee from the United States. Oh, well, that's going to affect pretty heavily because, like, let's say, like here in the coffee business in America, or specialty side, let's say a company like Cafe Imports, which is based in Minneapolis, they're importing coffees from all over the world and then warehousing it in the United States and then shipping them off. And I know they ship to a lot of worldwide destinations. And I'm presuming they're also supplying roasters in Canada. So I guess roasters in Canada at 25%, man. If I was in Canada and I was gonna get hit with 25% increases off the top because I was buying coffee from a American warehouse, I would have to switch. I would have to look and see if there's coffee in country. Actually, one of my friends, she's Nicaraguan and grows her family grows coffee, and I think she's been trying to warehouse coffee in Toronto. Now is a great time for her to do that. Craig says Royal Coffee keeps sending me updates. Oh, yeah, Royal, they're gonna get hit too. Well, I hate to see it happen, but I guess it has to happen. American corporations are going to have to feel a hit before they can actually put the pressure on the government to make appropriate changes. So this cigar, very nice, and I'm going to continue on with because we're already into the second third, but it's been very consistent. So flavor still very good plus, body still low body, but like it's not heavy, but the quality is still very good plus. So we're still continuing on with that. Very nice. This is the Yellowbird from Privada Cigars, which is actually a special size that's made for Privada by Aladino, and this is the Aladino. What's it called? The Private Selection, Vintage Selection, Aladino Vintage Selection. All Honduran tobaccos, Honduran Habano wrapper, and then Corojo filler and binder from Honduras. So, in some respects, very similar to the cigar we had last week, the EP Carrillo Honduras, where it's got this nice minerality, a lightness to it, a brightness to it. This one has some bourbon-esque kind of characters, as well as some like a little bit of lime, citrusy lime kind of characters. So really, really quite an interesting, really nice cigar, interesting cigar, and since I tend to smoke a lot of these heavier Nicaraguan cigars, a nice departure and a very distinct departure from what we've been smoking normally. And it's, of course, looks like Big Bird. I wonder if Jim Henson was a cigar smoker. Probably not. Now that I'm getting closer to the end, of course, there's a little bit of increasing intensity as well as a little bit of increasing heat. That last puff had a little bit more of a bright character to it. But it could be also maybe I'm puffing a little bit faster now, so I should probably take a moment. Mm. I see on my feed here, Harbor Freight is giving away a free gift starting tomorrow, April 4th to April 6th, just for stopping by. If you just stop by, you can get a free gift from Harbor Freight. They have a 36-inch pickup and reach tool, one of those little like pincher things. You get that, or you can get a 4-pack of the 12 by 12-inch microfiber towels, or you can get a pair of latex dipped work gloves just by stopping by. And if you decide to join their ITC Inside Track Club, you can get 10% off any one item. George asked, "Did you work on any films of Val Kilmer?" I did not. Yeah, I don't think so. I did not work with any on movies with Val Kilmer. Sadly, he did pass away. Val Kilmer's such an interesting guy. Like, he's been in such a wide variety of movies, but I always kind of hated him. I only hated him because like he was such a great actor, right? Because like he was always Iceman. Like no matter what he played later in life or even before that, even though he was in Weird Science and all those other great movies, but he was always like the guy. He's always like Iceman, Ice. But I read a quote from him. He did a lot of writing and a lot of recording of his life. And so I read this thing yesterday about an interview with him a few years back where they asked him, what was it like to be in the movie Heat? And he was like, it was an amazing experience where, can you imagine what it's like to be one of the few people to call these guys Al and Bob? And then he was also like, and we'd be hanging out, with those guys and doing stuff. And then he was like, and I got to kiss Ashley Judd. And I was like, oh man, that is a great way to look at it. It's like, I mean, he was married to Joanne Wally for a while, which I was like, oh man, she's amazing. Tony says Doc Holliday, I believe is. Oh yeah, man. In Tombstone, he was amazing in Tombstone. He really was a great actor. Really, just a great actor. Really, super enjoyable. Even towards the end, when he appeared in Top Gun Maverick, I thought he was still very solid. I am getting some good hits. I put a bunch of stuff on sale on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm starting to get some good hits. I'm like, all right, yeah, it's available. If you want to come pick it up, you're welcome to come pick it up. But I find a lot of buyers on Facebook Marketplace tend to be relatively unreliable. Like they'll message you, they want to come together, and I've even had them where they were coming, and they're like, they just don't show up, and I'm like, I'm thinking now maybe what I'll do is like if it continues like that, maybe what I might do is start doing these things where like if you want to pick it up, we will have a pickup time on a certain day, and you can come any of those times. If you don't come, that's fine. But if you want me to come at a certain time, then you must make a reservation, and I'm gonna put like a something on our website, be like, you pay $10 to reserve a time, and then we'll be there. So if you don't come up, if you don't show up, well, I still get some money out of it. So George one says, "I'll be your Huckleberry." Oh man, he was great. He was really great. He was really great. Let me just tell this person, but it. Just answering this thing. Somebody who says they want to come and see one of the items, so I've got this little sink, the hand washing sink that I used to use at the Artscape festivals. Tony, you remember that one? And I put that up, but it does need to be refurbished because it's pretty old now, and probably the lines need to be replaced, and the valves need to be replaced. But that I'm offering for very low. Again, another $100, just really cheap to like just get rid of it, just to move it. It'd be a lot of this stuff. It'd be a shame to just trash it. But I'm taking a little bit of a stricter approach now because it's like got some stuff. We'll put them online for like a week. If it sells in a week, great. If it doesn't, then I'm just going to donate it or get rid of it. Because I just can't like be sitting here with all this stuff. It's like it's got to go. It's got to go. So how's your cigars coming out, Craig? How's that Robena happening to you? Was it Robena? Or was it? What was it? Let me see. And Craig, how is the house coming along, man? How is that coming along? I know you've been rebuilding or trying to do it, and you're installing electric. I like that. I've always found like electric to be fairly simple to do. Just make sure that you're putting the right colors everywhere and doing everything correctly. Make sure you got the right gauge of wire. Some people always ask me like, "Can you do that?" I was like, "I can do that. I've done that." I said, "It's fairly simple. Is it dangerous?" I said, "Well, it's fairly simple. The problem is that if you do it wrong, you could kill yourself, or at least injure yourself." And I was like, "Oh." Like one year when we had the old roastery, I had my electrician come out and replace the panel. So replace the panel completely. So a new panel because the old panel was all like rinkety. It was terrible. Like it was like it didn't have a cover plate, so everything was exposed. I was like, and it was all old. I was like, man, we need to replace this. So I called my guy and I was like, Mr. Lee, this Korean dude, he's down from Virginia. And I was like, Mr. Lee, I've got this thing. I need you to replace this panel. And he's like, I said, when can you? He's like, when do you want me to see it? I was like, yeah. When can you come? He said, I can come right now. And I was like, what? You can come now? Yeah, I'll be there today. I was like, he came in there today, came out, looked at it. He's like, okay, here's the quote. When do you want to have it done? Well, when can you? I could do it tomorrow. I was like, oh, this Korean dude is like really good. So I came up, brought his crew. They replaced everything, put all new ground lines in. Really well done. And so I just had him replace the panel and all the circuits I was going to install. So I was installing. I remember one day I was installing circuits, and I was like, I ran the wire to the box, and I was wiring the box for this circuit. And for some reason, because when you put the wires in the box, you can just wire it, and the box can still be hot, and you just do it right, and just kind of once you screw the neutral and the ground onto the bars, and then you put the hot onto the circuit, and you click it and drive it in, and it clicks onto the bar on the inside of the panel that actually carries the feed from the line. For some reason, man, I just kind of felt off. Like I was like kind of nervous, a little bit scared for some reason. I don't know why, but I felt really kind of weird about it. So I thought, let me just shut off the mains. So I killed the mains to the box. And as I was screwing in the black into the breaker, my my flathead slipped. And I've got these Klein electricians tools for this, but I don't have the thousand. They have the regular versions that are insulated that just have the handle insulation. Then they have the other versions that are the new. I haven't really seen them over the years, but they have the other ones that are fully insulated that are up to like 10 1,000 volts or something like that. I don't have those. I was thinking about buying those because they're on sale right now at Lowe's. But I slipped off the terminal. I slipped off the screw, and it slipped enough, and I hit the actual bar on the inside, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "Man," I was like shaking because I was like, "Man, if the box had been energized, I could have been like hit with some voltage." I was like, "Son of a gun." Craig says, "Doing excellent, as expected. Old house finally closed March 31st, so I'm finally not in Ottawa." Oh, okay, okay. And Pryor is at about an hour west of Ottawa. Oh, nice, nice. I still think about your video, man. Your sub captain video. Love that. Love that. I'm glad to hear it's going well. Glad to hear it's going well. And how's the weather for you here today in Maryland? We finally have a day where it's been. I think it got close to 80 today. And it was fairly warm, like enough that even now I'm still just wearing shorts and t-shirt. George Shem is out there on his balcony smoking in shorts and t-shirt. So it's fairly warm, but it did get a little bit humid today. Like it reminded me of like a cool day in Honolulu where it's like all like hot, like cool but humid. And the humidity during the day wasn't too bad, but towards the afternoon into the later afternoon, it got pretty heavy. It's still a little bit humid today now at this point, but it's fairly cool, so it's pretty pleasant. I hope that we have some nice weather for a little while, because here in Maryland, I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but here in Maryland, we seem to go from cold to like hot and unbearable. So unbearable cold, well, just uncomfortable cold, unpleasant cold, or just cold, to like hot and humid. It's like, come on, man, give us a few months of like temperate weather would be really ideal. Craig says it got to 65 today. Snow and freezing rain yesterday. Wow. Currently 53. Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. A little bit of heater. I think that's very pleasant. Last night it was a little bit cool, so I was out here having a cigar, having the Maestranza, with watching some movies on YouTube. I was watching the A-Team movie, the one with Bradley Cooper and Liam Neeson, which I'm a big A-Team fan from like the 80s. And I thought it was I still think that I watched it yesterday. I still enjoyed it. I think it's still a very fun and enjoyable movie. I'm really disappointed that it was so hated by the audiences in modern times. They didn't really like it. It didn't do well at the box office, so they're not going to make any sequels. So I'm kind of disappointed about that. But what can you do? What can you do? Whew. So this is going well. I think I gotta say this is maybe one of the better cigars we've had from the Privada Cigar Club. So really enjoyable. I'm going to get. I think we're at a good point where we can probably round out the scoring, and I think it's been very consistent. Still a very good plus for both flavor and body, but of course the body's still low. you know, not very heavy. Now let's see, burn. The burn has been great. Draw has been great. A little bit tight, but great overall. Like excellent. I would say excellent in that. Consistency, very good. I mean, excellent consistency. So really consistent throughout the entire cigar. So we're gonna add that. So we're giving those nines in those categories. So 18, 7. Now overall, we're saying 8.5. So I'm gonna say 8.5 overall. So very good plus. Which gives us a total score of 85.5. So 85.5 is our final score for this cigar, this Yellow Bird from Privada Cigar by Aladino. It's basically it's basically a special size made just for this release of the Aladino Vintage Select, which features all Honduran tobacco, Honduran puro with a Habano wrapper and Corojo binder and filler. So really nice. So so if you don't have if you can't get this cigar from Privada anymore, you can get still the Aladino vintage selection, which is essentially the same car, but just same cigar, but just in different sizes, right? Steve is with us. Sorry, tuning in at the end of the show. Been driving home from work doing it. Nice, nice. But listening in, excellent. Glad you've been with us. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Like I said, I've had to rearrange stuff here in the garage and trying to purge a lot of stuff. So I have been able to purge a bit and change things around. So I've been able to get a lot more space to do my work and have more space to spread out. But it's weird because like I got to a point where like everything had a place, everything was really tight. So in order for me to set up, I would have to move some stuff, put some stuff away, pull it out, put it back, you know, to do things. Now it's a lot more space. So I feel a bit discombobulated. Like I'm like, how am I gonna, I don't know how to set it up anymore. I'm like all like confused. I was really confused yesterday when I did it. It was better today. And I was like, okay. I guess the best thing is just to start working in the space and figure out where everything really needs to go. But I got a whole bunch of stuff stacked in the middle of the garage. So I'm like, I need to get rid of all that. I can get rid of most of that. It'll be revolutionary. But I've been thinking about it. I got this big smoker in here. And normally I keep in the garage and roll it outside to smoke with. But I was thinking I need to maybe put that on the deck with the other grills. So like that'll all be like a cooking area. Problem is it's a pretty big thing, and I was thinking, and I think I do need to rebuild because the smoker itself is like 20 years old now. It's an old Cook Shack Fast Eddie 100. It's a competition smoker, pellet based, so it has an auger. It's got a hopper and an auger. And the last time I used it last summer, I think the auger kind of seizing, so it wasn't really feeding very well. So I think I really need to tear it apart and then clean it up and then re-grease it, and then it should be fine. Then maybe I need to go with those boat people that makes the custom canvas and get a custom canvas cover for it so I can leave it out and have it a little bit protected. Even though it's fully stainless and it should be perfectly fine, I think it'd be nice to have a cover for it just to protect it more. But our coffee's been good. We've had it hot and cold. Of course, the hot one is now pretty cool. Although I had some of it in this thermal container from Fellow that with a silicone lid. So I'm going to see if that's still kind of warm. See how well it's been insulating. Tony says there's a guy in Red Line, Pennsylvania, who can make that for you. Cover. Oh, if you might have his contact number, and forward that over to me if you can remember it, so I can give him a call. I'm going to go up to Harrisburg tomorrow. pick up I found a guy selling a sander. So I'm like, oh, I need a sander. But I think when we get this sander, I'm done with sanders. I got the last. It'll be the last sander that I'm gonna need to add. Yeah, this has been very good. This has been a very good experience. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate it. All right, so well, it is 10 o'clock. So here it is, the Aladino Vintage Selection in the form for Privada Cigar. The what's it called? The Yellow Bird. Been really great. 85.5. So I guess that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you very much for hanging out. Always good to see you for the Thursday night hang. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, thank you. And back again next week with another episode of our Thursday night hang here on the Coffee and Cigars live stream. And as always, if you have time, want to talk more coffee, just coffee, no cigars. I still do that morning live stream that Mum's always usually joins us with at 10 a.m. on the main channel. So if you have time, come join us then. If not, be back again next week, Thursday night at 8 p.m. So hope you guys have a great week out there and a great weekend. And see you next time.